I'm Chris. I'm the founder of Arthur.
So Chris, what exactly is Arthur? Give us the elevator pitch for this interesting software.
It's a virtual reality collaboration solution for the enterprise. So we use both VR and AR to actually get people into the same room in a digital environment so they can work together as if they're together in the same room.
It's an interesting name. What made you call this software Arthur?
It was kind of coincidental. We just thought of the Knights of the Round Table and King Arthur, and we thought that's a good, topic around getting people together in the same place. So we picked that name.
You could talk about how your software works. Obviously, you require some type of headset, but you also say you have some AR capabilities as well. Are you working with some prototype technology, the HoloLens or something like that?
Well, so I think our general learning until now is that AR comes, like the pure AR devices come from all the way from the other end of the spectrum, where they're very thin, but also the intensity of the experience is quite low. So the type of AR that we're looking at is actually more commonly referred to as mixed reality right now, where you use VR devices and their pass-through capabilities. So VR devices with cameras where you might be able to see a room. And we're working quite a bit on some things around that.
So talk about what separates Arthur from other social workplace VR environments.
Yeah, I think within VR, I think it's such an early stage of the industry where any application where you can get two people or multiple people into the same virtual environment could technically be the same. I think it would make sense to differentiate real collaboration solution from, training solutions or simulations or all of these other things where you might still have people together, but the purpose isn't really work. So what we focused on is we wanted to bring, really productive meetings back to the digital world. We think, no matter how amazing video conferencing is and all the tools we have available, it always feels like we're stuck in first or second gear if we're like 6 or 7 people really wanting to work on an issue. And that's the kind of stuff, these workshops, these deeper strategic or creative sessions. That's what we focused on. And particularly within this type of meeting, we're very focused on enterprise clients. So since day one, we focused on really large organizations and their needs. So the capabilities of our software around how many people you can get into the room, how much flexibility you have to customize the space and really use this vast virtual space for your own needs. These are the kind of things that set us apart from, a really, really high level of security and encryption and capabilities around team management and access control that you need in the enterprise.
Will you require, do you have your own VPN when people connect to this virtual network, or will people be supplying their own, or is there an option for both?
We generally don't really force a VPN on users. So we have, encrypted traffic, and we work with the internal teams and their security guidelines. If you have an internal VPN, then we can work to make the connection happen there as well.
Are you optimizing for like one particular headset, or you plan on just basically supporting all headsets, Vive, Oculus Quest, Rift?
Yeah, so we focus fairly heavily on all-in-one headsets. So these standalone devices where you don't need to be connected to any laptop or PC. But within that, any what is called 6 degree of freedom headset, so any headset that can actually move in space and adjust your view, which is a type of VR headset there. The current standard is actually the XR2 chipset from Qualcomm, and I think there's 3 or 4 devices that are pretty popular by now that we support that run this. So there's obviously the Oculus Quest, which is one of the most famous ones, but there are also some enterprise-focused devices like the HTC Focus 3 or the Pico Neo 3 Pro. We support all of them. As long as they give a good enough experience to the user, we try to support them.
Now, it's interesting you mentioned the Oculus Quest. It is probably the most popular VR headset because of its accessibility, but it also is connected to Facebook. So that means you have to be on like the Facebook store. Does that prove an issue for your company when you're trying to release enterprise software and you have to use like the manufacturer's built-in store?
Yeah, so Meta, or back then Facebook, they always tried to also have solutions for the enterprise. So there was an Oculus for Business version available, but where you didn't need a Facebook account with it. It's definitely it's a wonderful piece of hardware, and so accessible, as you said. And if you look at their strategy and what they announced, they clearly want to have the metaverse open to everyone, also to the enterprise customers. So they try to service everyone, and within the capabilities that they provide us, we can, if they are acceptable for the clients, we can make it work.
Awesome. And are there any particular challenges when developing a VR platform, specifically now in 2021? I mean, obviously the pandemic, has that affected your productivity at all?
Well, us internally, no, we've always been a distributed team, and we've used our own app to work together, which was an interesting litmus test, and I think it worked out quite okay for us. It's really, really hard because you have, ultimately you're competing with reality, and the user's expectations are, wow, I want to feel like actually I'm in this place together with other people, but not only with reality from a visual side, but you're also at the same time competing with a very, very advanced software ecosystem that you're used to from your normal laptop or phone, right? So you need to kind of get the best of both worlds, and you have to make this run on a headset that is a mobile chipset, meaning it has the computing power of a mobile phone. So whenever we talk about computer graphics, it would obviously be much greater if we could plug it into a big PC with very high graphics powers to allow for a more sophisticated visual experience. But what we've seen is that the flexibility you have, if it's just its own device and you don't have to worry about any laptop or PC connectivity, it's just much easier for the user. So we've optimized for that. And this is really tricky, at the same time you want to have high realism, at the same time you want to have incredibly high capabilities that you can do in these spaces, but they all work against the device's power in terms of computing power. And so balancing this, and it's not a week goes by where our engineering team doesn't have to come up with some new creative solution. It's kind of exciting, but also sometimes a bit tiring, I have to say.
As an entrepreneur and as CEO of a company, do you feel that the work at home is here to stay permanently? Do you think eventually, whenever that is in the future, when we get a cure for this COVID thing, that everyone will return to the offices and then it'll be snickered upon once again?
Yeah, I'm not of the opinion that I should go out and tell everyone, hey, work from your basement and never meet another person and everything is going to happen in the matrix. I don't believe in that. I think there's good reason to travel. I think, on the other hand, it was, in my opinion, almost barbaric how in 2019 the standard work paradigm was. Forcing people into an office to anyways be on video calls with other offices is, I hope that through this horrible pandemic, maybe the silver lining is that we realized, okay, the way of doing things back then was maybe not the right way. And the positive aspects of giving employees flexibility from where they work and when they work will remain. So what we're seeing is this hybrid work setting where you might have a hub where people can meet, you might be only 2 days in the office, you might be fully remote. And within this framework of how we work together, it's just as much, a solution that allows you to really collaborate very seamlessly is just as important as if you're fully remote. Because the moment you can't count on everyone being in the office, important people will be remote. And this is the moment where your toolkit internally needs to support communication and collaboration to the fullest extent. So I think as we move, hopefully at one point out of this pandemic, I'm actually most excited about this hybrid work period where right now everything is very reactive. And it's for us as a new technology, we do get a lot of chances, but I think it rather accelerated the existing technologies that were in place. If you think about it, Zoom and Teams and so on, they were adopted much more rapidly than VR. And now as we move towards this hybrid work setting, I think we're seeing some blind spots where even Microsoft themselves say that remote work isn't figured out with the current toolkit that you have. And I think this is where this immersive collaboration will have a very important point at the beginning. And, depending on how you think about the metaverse and the evolution of this technology, I think there's a very good case to say that it will absorb pretty much all of computing at one point, because you'll be able to do everything you can do in 2D, plus all of the things that only 3D allows you.
Awesome. My last question is, where can people go to find more information about Arthur? Is it available to license now? Is it beta? What's the status?
Yeah, we're out of beta with our enterprise software. So we have two types of our application, two editions. One is the consumer version that is available right now on the Oculus store. It's free, but it's fairly basic. It's really just intended to get people, familiar with the medium. If you're serious about collaborating in VR, if you're an enterprise, then I really recommend our pro version. You can find all the info on our website. That's arthur.digital. And yeah, our team is more than happy to meet you then in the virtual office in the metaverse and show people around.